And once again, welcome my brothers and sisters all over the world, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I hope you are absolutely just positively enjoying your very best life, doing the best you can to make whatever it is you're doing enjoyable, make it fun. If it ain't fun, stop doing it, find something else to do. It's been a long time since we've had a guest on this show. And one of the biggest things for me is to have guests, because you can only listen to me yap for so long before it's like, why doesn't he just shut up and let somebody else have a word or two? So today, I have my first guest in a while, and I have, this is exciting for me because our guest is Lisa Thomas. And Lisa her studies are things that have fascinated me for years. So I can't wait to have this conversation. Lisa is an epigenetics healer. She's worked with thousands of people worldwide to achieve their business and life goals by releasing inherited emotional DNA. Can't wait to talk about that. Such as the fear of success, money blocks, relationships, drama, business stagnation, and so forth. She believes everyone deserves to experience a life of passion, abundance, and purpose. Lisa achieves this within her small group programs like she's doing today, her private coaching, and her trademark certification called Soul Awakening Method Certification. She lives in LA, California with her husband and family. And Lisa, welcome to the show. I'm thrilled to have you on.
And I'm thrilled to be here, Ken. Thank you.
So, we can just kind of chat for a few minutes, or we can dive right in. And I'm so
dive.
I'm so excited about what you do. I told you that before the show. I just, people who live in my world. I'm a metaphysician at heart, and metaphysicians are fascinated by everything Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, Greg Braden, as we talked earlier, and epigenetics is it's one of the newer cutting edge pieces of their work and of scientific studies in general. By the way, folks, I have a little thing here that tells me you're watching. If you have a question or a comment, please, I have the comments open, put it in there. If you have something you want to know from Lisa, I'll be glad to ask her the question. Just put it in there. So anyway, the first thing I want to know is describe for us. I never heard the terms before until I encountered you, of inherited emotional DNA. Please, what the hell is that, Lisa?
It's a long name for epigenetics, or another way to say it is, it's an easy way to explain the big word of epigenetics.
Okay.
Right.
And so, take it a step further then. Explain your thoughts on epigenetics.
Yeah. And we each inherit our physical helix, right? How our DNA is set up. It gives us blue, green, brown eyes. It helps us, it'll determine our bone frame size, how tall we are. Are we 5'6" or 6'7"? The helix we can't change, but the expression of our DNA is within our epigenetics. And in my line of work, epigenetics is the life experiences of our ancestors, and they get passed down in our cellular memory. So a great example would be the fear of spiders. There's people here, who have on planet Earth, who have this innate fear of spiders but they've never, as a child, had a bad experience with a spider. But maybe their great-great-grandfather was bitten by a venomous spider chopping wood and almost died. So the inherited fear of spiders, the fear of dying when you see a spider, gets passed down within our epigenetics. And they're called informational tags. Informational tags can get turned on and off at any time in our life. There isn't really a rhyme or reason to it, but a phobia would be an informational tag. And the beautiful thing is, Ken, we don't have to own those. They are not fixed like our helix is. Those types of things can be, erased, so to speak. They can be let go. They can be eradicated. They can be changed.
Right. And all of that has to do with work between our ears, right?
Yes and no. Yes, because our subconscious knows everything. So I understand what you're saying, right? I agree with you. But innately, we don't know what happened 9 generations ago right? I mean, you think of a family tree, see my background, my whole office is filled with trees. And trees represent to me lineage, ancestors. And the trunk would be us here on earth. And then all of the branches and the roots represent our ancestors. So the experiences come from different directions, different lines, and they're part of who we are. So it's not all bad. I do want to put this is really important here, is we inherit our gifts and our talents. That doesn't mean we don't have to practice, right, to be a good singer, but we inherit the gift, the ability to do that. Those types of gifts, and they come from our ancestors, as well as, right, the experience of being bit by a spider, or a trauma experience, or feeling unloved in a relationship. So therefore, we inherit this feeling of never feeling accepted in our life. Mm-hmm.
Right. Got it. Okay. So, and mine, by the way, would be snakes. Spiders don't bother me. Snakes, no, thank you.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. My wife and I moved here to North Carolina, whatever it was now, so almost 18 months ago. And in Colorado, we have one poisonous snake. It's the rattlesnake. And in North Carolina, we have 6 poisonous snakes.
Oh my goodness.
4 of those are different varieties of rattlesnake. So I'm like seeing snakes everywhere.
Yeah, I bet you are. I bet your brain looks for those snakes. Mm-hmm.
So I'm working on, I'm literally working on, we have almost an acre of land, and we've got a lot of debris and brush in trees and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife has been very good about clearing that out. I'm not so good about it because I am nervous, but I'm really kind of forcing myself to get in there because of that fear of snakes. Mm-hmm. I just feel like I need to do what I can do to not feel that trigger. And I've never stopped to think about that feeling as being an inherited trait.
Yeah, it is. It is for you. I can tell you that. It is inherited for you.
I only have one snake story in my whole family. When I was a kid, there was a 6-foot rattlesnake skin hanging on the wall in my grandparents' basement. And many years earlier, when my mother and 2 of her sisters had a party, somebody stole the rattle off the end of it. But that snake skin was there. It wound up in my brother's room after my grandfather passed, hanging on his wall. But the story, the legend, if you will, the family legend of that snake was my grandfather encountered it on a golf course. And every time it struck at him, he swatted at it with a golf club and he killed it.
Wow.
I don't know if that's where my fear came from, or if it's
probably not, but it does validate snakes in your life, right? On some level.
Yeah. So now my understanding of epigenetics has always been, it's been less on a feeling level, more on an action level, more on a level of my activities, what I do, how I do things, never really connecting the dots of what I do is a direct reflection of how I feel.
Yeah.
I don't do anything that I don't feel in the moment, whether it's what I want to do or don't want to do. I'm still doing it as a result of a feeling. Is that
that's
correct?
That's true, but it could show up as an inherited pattern of procrastination, which could be happening because there's a real fear of success.
Are you reading my bio somewhere?
Right? But it actually really impacts the actions we take and those we don't take. You're spot on there.
I get it. Okay, I totally get it. So you step into this life, you've got all of this baggage, good or bad. Okay.
Right.
We
all do.
If I'm going on vacation, the baggage is lovely. Right. But so we come in with this baggage, and I'm clear that I recognized none of my baggage earlier in my life. As I've gotten older, I've recognized it. I think part of that has to do with my training in metaphysics, my desire to learn the things that you're teaching, the things that you're working on. But let's start with the recognition piece. How would you suggest to someone that they want to recognize what their emotional DNA is that maybe needs to be repaired? How do they uncover that, or can they? Do they just have to stumble upon it?
Well, it lies within our subconscious. So at this point in life, they would be someone who has tried a lot of transformational work, and they're bumping up against the same stuff, right? We can move forward, but then we keep hitting the same thing. Or they recognize that there's more for them, but they can't attain it. So I work with a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, and who have desires in their life to make an impact in the world. And yet they recognize that despite all the efforts they're doing, all the cold plunges, all the different physical things they're doing, they're still hitting these blocks, these barriers. And that's where someone like me, or for them to come learn how to do it for themselves, you could clear it for yourself. You don't have to have Lisa Thomas clear it.
Right. I get it. The entrepreneurs are an interesting group of people. I've got an echo on my end. Are you hearing that?
I don't.
Not. Okay, so sometimes it just comes back at me. I hope it's not going across the air. The internet.
It might be because your phone is on. It normally echoes when the phone's on at the same time. Maybe mute your phone.
The
just an idea.
Okay. The internet is always so much fun to play with. And I lost my train of thought there. Now bear with me here 1 second. You mentioned entrepreneurs, and I've been an entrepreneur for a very long time. And one of the things I know about entrepreneurs is that they are more cognizant of all of those mental blocks, the fear of success, the procrastination, all of the things that go along with not being everything I think I can be or should be.
It's true.
Yeah, entrepreneurs, they recognize those things because they just live in a whole different dynamic. It's
right.
You don't have anyone to blame. If you're an entrepreneur, when everything goes wrong, it always comes
back down. That's right. And when they want to make an impact, see, in other people's lives, then they're going to recognize it even more, I think. Wow. The other group of people that really embrace this is in the Hollywood area, where actors and actresses and entertainment and, people that want to, I say, transform the world by taking them out of the present into another reality. They also embrace this really well. And I also believe that everybody on some level their consciousness is more aware of it. I think through what we've been through here in society over the last 3-4 years, we've all become more aware of what feels good to us and what doesn't, right? What works in our lives and what doesn't.
That's why so many people have not gone back to work.
Yeah.
Just heard somebody the other day with some expert in the employment field talking about the idea that since COVID, not counting anybody who passed on, but since COVID, about 2.5 million people just did not enter back into the workforce.
Yeah.
And it's
nice they could do that. It's nice they had a choice.
It doesn't feel right, so they didn't go back.
Right.
They just we definitely have, when we have something as impactful as the pandemic, people get a real sense of, wow, what am I enjoying? What am I not enjoying? And why am I doing so many things I'm not enjoying?
That's right. And that's the ideal way to do it. Now, the flip side is when we decide to shut down or hold back, when that really isn't what we should be doing, right? And that happens a lot. When things get tough, what the natural response for humans is to want, well, maybe then I'm not supposed to do it anymore. When really it's to move through the illusion, release the fear that's happening so that good things can happen.
Wow. That's a big one there. That's a big one. I mean, people get so caught up in the doing that they just think is what is supposed to go on day in, day out. I have a friend who wrote a song that one of the lines in the song is, you go from work to bar to bed and back again. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but my take on any kind of epigenetic shift is If you get stuck in that work to bar to bed paradigm, you are never, ever having any epigenetic change in your life whatsoever. All of your DNA, all of the proteins in your DNA are going to fire the exact same way, day in, day out. You will be living your past into your future every day of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. It won't change. You have to recognize that that's become a habit, an addiction in a sense, an addiction to the routine. We can have an addiction to holding ourselves back. So oftentimes when people come to me for an addiction, it really shows up in other areas of their life as well. We can believe it or not, you can have an addiction to anxiety. Yep. And I'll give you, even though we don't desire anxiety, but what the subconscious does is it looks for what's lost. Like if you think about it, if we lose our keys, what do? We go to find them. So if somebody's used to feeling anxiety and it becomes what I call body talk, right? It's the body's way of communicating with them. Then when it's not happening, they go looking for it. Where is it? Why aren't I feeling it? What's different, right?
The body anticipates the flow of neurotransmitters that it's going to get from the anxiety, and all of a sudden your body is your subconscious mind.
That's
and
right.
Now it's and all of a sudden you have a moment, you live in anxiety, and now you have a moment of relaxation and relief, and your whole body goes, hey, where's my stuff?
Yeah.
Where's my neurotransmitters?
Where is it? What's happening?
Where's my anxiousness? Where's my cortisol? I don't get it. What's going on here?
That's right. Yeah. So a good way to explain this then, Ken, would be in a different way would be every word in the dictionary has a vibration attached to it. It's a megahertz, it's a frequency. But it's not interesting for us to talk about numbers that way. It might be just to a few here, specialized people, right? But we don't run our world, our life, we don't navigate it in this is the megahertz I'm living in right now. But that is actually what's happening. So when the frequency of anxiety gets released from the cells of the body, and the subconscious will do this, when it recognizes that it's not serving it anymore, it's not serving the highest good, it will release it. When those vibrations get released, the subconscious will stop looking for it.
Once it gets changed.
Yep.
And that more likely is not it's not an instantaneous thing. That has to happen over a little repetition.
I would say so. Like when people work with me, like the very first session, they're going to feel a difference. But I like to bring on board somebody for 6 times, because 6 times there's an established pattern. And if someone has a fear of change innately in them, so that would look like they worry excessively, they expect bad things to happen. It's an all or nothing, right? Or the what if scenarios, those are real. What this does is it trains the neural pathways, the body, then all of that, to trust that change is safe. And when the body feels that change is safe, which is very good, you do that in visualizations as well, by the way. Right. That trains the subconscious to go, oh, as it sees it through the conscious mind, as you're right. Oh, I'm safe. I visualize this. It can happen. I'm safe when that happens. It's similar this way, because in a session, I don't do visualization. I do a different process, but you're right. It is a process. But each time it gets, more gets released.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. And your body gets more used to it. Your mind gets more used to it.
It's really amazing how it can dramatically impact our lives.
Excuse me. I'm a pretty easygoing guy. I don't get anxious. I might get angry at times, but I'm one of these people gets angry, expresses their anger, and it's gone.
And it's gone. That's great.
I'm done. But when I do get stressed out, I get stressed out.
It's a big one, huh?
And it's like like paralyzed.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen very often. But when it does, it's real. And I have the sponsor of my show is a company called HempWorks, which is the single largest direct-to-consumer producer of CBD and hemp products in the world,
Mm-hmm.
the cleanest, purest CBD on the planet. And I am fascinated by the fact that a dropper full of CBD will knock my anxiety away in seconds.
Mm-hmm.
That
It sure
blows
will. I
me
think
away.
CBD is great for people that they really do suffer from it. It impacts all aspects, including our physical body. Anxiety does. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Because, well, again, because of the neurotransmitters, every cell of your body is experiencing that anxiety.
Absolutely.
Just like every cell is experiencing your anger, every cell is experiencing your joy.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't necessarily understand that. I think that's a part of, maybe a part of the epigenetic equation, that if people understood it, it would really change their attitude about who they are and how they respond into the world. Because there's a great book that Peter McWilliams wrote many years ago called "You Can't Afford the Luxury of a Negative Thought."
Yeah,
Every negative thought affects every cell of your body.
it does.
Continuous negative cell
Mm-hmm.
affects every cell of your body in such a negative way as to literally cause disease. That is an epigenetic effect.
It
right?
is. Mm-hmm.
Your negativity is triggering your DNA to fire in certain ways that are all negative throughout your entire system.
Absolutely.
Right?
It turns on informational tags. What is what it does. The negative thoughts turn on these informational tags in your epigenetics, these expressions that show up in patterns in your life. So you're absolutely right. Mm-hmm.
You're doing this work with thousands of people. Your core process is this 6-session paradigm?
My core process, well, I like to say, I have two businesses. I have a business where I teach people to do what I do. And in there, I teach people, individuals, to do it for themselves. So I have master classes. I have one on April 8th. It's an all-day class online where I teach you how to find the inherited pattern. I teach you to know if it's on your mother or father's side and how many generations back it goes, literally that specific, as well as how to release it and how to replace it. Because when we're pulling these, as we do this, I like to think of the character in Charlie Brown, Pigpen. And the dust cloud that's all over him actually, to me, represents the frequencies, the vibrations that we inherit. And when we're covered in these, but they're within us, it doesn't allow us to see out in front of us, right? And nor does it allow others to see us for who we are. So when we pull these out of ourselves, I say that as the collective, the individual does this, then I also like to teach how to replace it into the body, a higher frequency energy. And so it's a method that I trademarked, and it's very effective. I love teaching people. Now, in my private work, people get on a call with me and we go through a process together. They don't have to do it. They just carry on a conversation. It's not therapy, but I'm doing my thing as they're meeting with me on the phone.
Cool. I don't know if you can see it on your screen, but I put up your
thank you.
Your website. If anybody is interested in contacting Lisa, and we'll put this up again later. I'm not going to leave it up for the whole show, but there's the website, lisathomasenergy.com. I mean, it doesn't get any simpler than that one. So if people are interested, that's the way to do that, because it's everybody. And you're one of a handful of guests I've had over the years that the work fascinates me in so much as it is something that everybody can benefit from. There is nobody who won't benefit from exploring this work, whether or not they need to do more or not, but exploring it and recognizing how we've lived in a society where Bruce Lipton calls this the time of scientific materialism, where medicine is part of that scientific materialism. And medicine the medical field is a truth provider.
It is.
Bruce Lipton would be a great example of why nothing could be farther from the truth. That medicine is not necessarily a truth provider, but we look at it that way. And medicine has always told us that we are subject to our DNA. We are, in many senses, if you've got illness or if there's illness that runs in the family, you're a victim of your DNA. Now, your work, and certainly the work of Joe Dispenza, would say, nah, not so much.
Not so much. You can change it. Now, it doesn't say, and we don't want to negate here the fact that we are born into a dispensation of miracles, where we have afforded to us, certain medications that do save our lives. We're not negating that by any means here, but we are a byproduct of how we take care of ourselves in many ways. And we can transform these informational tags to have a healthier life, to experience life physically on a healthier basis. I 100% agree.
And you can, not only can you experience life on a healthier basis, but there's also, this just occurred to me because it's actually something I'm experiencing in the last 24 hours. When there's something that you want to get done, and you are that entrepreneurial procrastinator who's not diving in and doing it, when you go ahead and finally make the move and do it, you change your entire person. You are, and that's
so good, doesn't it?
It's amazing how good it feels. And there's an affirmation I do in the morning, and I'm not going to get it right because I don't have it in front of me, but it's magnificent things are always about to happen. And when you step in from that procrastination paradigm and you step in and start doing things, then all of a sudden, that's how you feel. Like great things are going to happen. I'm accomplishing. And when you're accomplishing, I think from the epigenetic standpoint, you are now signaling your DNA to fire in such a way that you are really living in a sense of expectancy as opposed to a sense of depression and I can't get it done. I'll never be good enough. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I'm going to say underneath there, though, is where I want to clear. I want to help somebody learn how to clear the pattern of even having to push through that. What would it feel like to not have to push to get things done, but to rather be able to have that just become part of you on a daily basis? It doesn't mean you have to be manic about it, right? But to be able to do things that serve your highest good so you can, as an entrepreneur, move forward with less struggle, where you can feel in that zone on a regular basis. That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah. Yeah. That requires the work.
It does. It does require the work. The effort alone goes a long way. Don't get me wrong, but it takes you longer and you repeat the cycles more frequently. And sometimes in those cycles, we can stay in the struggle category way too long. And then what happens is we feel we're behind. We've missed it. We've missed our time. And that's heartbreaking for me when people reach a certain point in their life and they feel like it's too late. Now, of course, I don't believe it's ever too late, but I'm saying we want to minimize those struggle times so that we can be in that high vibrational flow and that brilliance, that magnificence that you say on a regular basis.
Yep. I'm a firm believer that it's never too late and you're never too old.
I absolutely agree, 100%.
I have a favorite book called Growing Bolder by a man named Mark Middleton. And my favorite line in the book is, if you want to keep moving, you got to keep moving.
Yeah.
Which is that in and of itself is a lesson in epigenetics.
Yes.
I had a conversation with, there's a gym here that for senior citizens, it's 55 and older, and there's no kids in there, and it's got a modest workout area. And I've fallen in love with the place. I've been there 4 times. I've fallen in love with it. And I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday about the idea that if you move, if you exercise, you change your entire day. And if you do it as a habit, you change your entire life, because there is, once again, a neurotransmitter flow, a serotonin flow that uplifts you. And now you live in more of just of an expectant environment, as
I will.
opposed to, I think we get into our parasympathetic nervous system a little bit more.
Mhm.
And I think we live in a world right now where the default is almost in the sympathetic nervous system. Everybody is living
Yeah,
in fight or flight.
they
Um,
are.
it's a little scary.
Mhm.
It's one of the reasons why we have so much disease. It's one of the reasons why we live in a country that is 2/3 of the adult population is overweight. That is, to me, a sign of fight or flight.
Yeah, yeah.
All epigenetic,
It is. It
right?
is. Hmm. And so my question would be, if somebody can't get up and exercise every day, why? That's where I want to help. Follow
It's,
me?
yeah,
That's it. Like,
and that's
get movement.
so stay there with me. So your work is really about getting past the need to, quotes, force yourself.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
feeling
Mhm.
that way all the time, and can you say something more about what the process is with you, so people maybe get a feel for that?
Sure. I work with the subconscious. And so it's really about talking to the subconscious, asking it questions, and then I do a lot of muscle testing. In fact, I have a special way that I muscle test. And it gives me priority mode, because the subconscious, although it knows everything about us, it knows why we are the way we are. It knows what we inherited. It knows, inherited is just a drop in the bucket. We have our life experiences that also formulate a lot of who we are. So I'm not minimizing life here. We're just talking about epigenetics, right?
Yeah.
But the subconscious, when it feels like, because it only wants to help us, I think the subconscious gets a bad rap. And when we bring in the subconscious, ask it, what's the priority? What's the root cause? What needs to be released? We let it tell us what needs to be released to stop the pattern of anxiety as body talk, or what needs to be released to allow ease in getting movement on a daily basis, or what's blocking for entrepreneurs, what needs to be released to allow more internal dialogue and team support here. Because if we have an inherited pattern of being unsupported, it will show up in your work. Absolutely every time. It will, or it'll show up in a family dynamic, in a relationship, right?
Yeah.
So by asking the subconscious to tell us what it is that's blocking, meaning anybody can learn this. They don't have to be psychic. They don't have to be spiritually gifted. They just need to learn the method, the process. It's a process to get the information from the body to release it. That's all. And it's not hard.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with this technique called visioning?
I'm not.
Okay, and I'm not going to go into it, just simply because it's a big explanation and it's not worth it. But his process of visioning includes what you just said about part of the
Interesting.
work is, what do I need to release?
That's
And
interesting.
and the next question after that is, what do I need to embrace?
Yeah.
And the beginning question to all of it is, what is the highest vision for my life? And you can substitute my life. What is the highest vision for my marriage? What is the highest vision for my business? It's just, and it's, of course, this is all spiritually based.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
something
He's
that
a big deal in Los Angeles.
I have a lot of experience with it,
Mm-hmm.
from my background and where I've been with metaphysics and the spiritual community I belonged to in Colorado before we left.
Yeah.
But anyway,
It's impactful. It can help anybody, and people don't have to come to me for help. We're just, not at all. There's a lot of good things out in the world. I just am aware that when it comes to epigenetics, we are not going to be consciously aware of what's blocking us.
Yeah.
It's impossible. It's impossible. We can be consciously aware of what a possibility could be based on the stories we hear around the dinner table, right? If we hear the story that something happened in our lineage, okay, then we have an awareness of what it could be. But promise you, it's not what we always think we know. And I find
I
that
love
just
that.
fascinating. I love it, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's fabulous. And I think the interesting, one of the more interesting things about what you're doing is if you went out on the street right now and asked 100 people to tell you what epigenetics is,
Mm-hmm.
99 of them wouldn't even know the word.
No, I know that.
And it's
And when I started using it about 4 years ago, primarily is when I've been talking about emotional DNA for years, but even the people that are on my team would say nobody knows what it is. I still get that.
yeah,
And it's okay
yeah,
because science is catching up, right? It's okay. And I think that it's important that we learn about who we are and why we are the way we are. And it helps us be more understanding of ourselves. It's not putting blame on anybody, like there's no blame on our ancestors, but it does help us explain why we're wired a certain way and why our children have some of the same fears or patterns that we do. Yes, some of them are learned. A lot of them come epigenetically wired in their
right.
system.
Just passed down
Mhm.
through the ages.
Absolutely.
The and I was mentioning that nobody knows what epigenetics is, not to dismiss epigenetics because I think it's hugely
No,
important. But
no, I
it's
didn't feel like you were.
I think your work is important for the numbers of people you will come in contact with who will just learn what that is and understand the possibilities of it. I'm not
Mhm.
subject to my DNA. I'm not a victim of my
You're not.
DNA. I'm
Mhm.
more in charge than I ever even knew. And that's
Yeah.
such important work because, again, I think when we talk about a society that's living in the sympathetic nervous system, we're living in fight or flight all the time. Those
Mhm.
people need to understand that there's a way out of that.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be so hard. We don't have to live so triggered, right? Where we're in one state and all of a sudden we're just not angry, we're livid, right? We're
Yeah.
exasperated. We're at our wits' end. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it happens in a nanosecond. We don't have to be that way. Hmm.
It seems like the entire universe is waiting for the next opportunity to be outraged,
Yeah.
to be
Well, we
pissed off.
become very divided. Can we're divided in society and all things, and it's getting worse and worse. And it's getting to where fence sitters are not even accepted. You got to choose which side, and
Yep.
it's really unfortunate. But at the same time, people rise in these situations. We do, and we're in a time where I think we're being asked to rise. Each individual. I don't think each individual in our own lives. I think we can feel that calibration happening with individually each of us. Hmm.
I absolutely agree with that 1,000%. And I think the young people are the key. It's easy to talk about they don't have a work ethic, they don't have this, they don't have that, they don't have the other thing. Well, part of that is the idea that the younger people in this country in particular, but I think in the world at large, they don't want anything to do with the world as it exists right now. They
Yeah,
look at the world that quotes we've created and they're like, you know what?
yeah,
You people can keep that shit. I don't want anything to do with it. But the flip side of that coin is they don't know what they want. They don't know what to do. And I
no,
think that's where we come in. That's where the
yeah,
adults come in to give them the opportunity to spread their wings, to look at
yeah,
possibilities and to
yeah.
guide them into the idea of no, you don't have to follow what we did, but you have to have some clue about what you're going to do in difference in exchange for that. And that
In
also,
exchange.
to me, as I say those words, I'm like, that's all epigenetic also.
Yeah, it is. And it also comes from the way we've raised children in the last decade. Absolutely, we've been in a blessed time of abundance.
Yes.
And and when you live in abundance, there's no struggle to work hard.
Yep.
And as parents, and from us coming from our parents, right, that lived during World War II, or, grandparents from those eras. And then we even have, it doesn't go back that far. And they rose during those times of struggle. New inventions came about during the Great Depression.
Yeah.
I mean, right, we have the development of the car, the great things happen during downtimes, and then we learn who we are during those times. But the downside too is abundance. When we don't want our children to have to suffer at all, right? We want to make all things fair and equal, and they don't learn that struggle energy at all. Then when times of difficulty come, there isn't anywhere to go. It's really hard.
Yep. And they feel, and because we have avoided them having to struggle.
Yes.
And we've
because we loved them.
Given them as much as we can give them, so that they don't have the
Absolutely.
struggle that we have. Then what we wind up with is an entire generation of entitled human beings who don't have any idea how to get out of the struggle when it appears, because it's going, when you create that generation or generations, which we really have, of younger people, and the tough times then come because of the fact that nobody knows how to deal with the struggle. There's a tough time, and nobody knows how to deal with it, so it gets tougher and tougher and tougher. And if you don't help them figure out how to work on it, then it just goes farther and farther downhill.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any better. And everybody's wondering, how come I don't have all the things I had before? We get into a whole thing on the educational system.
We could get into, we could go in we could chase many squirrels from this point.
And I'm a squirrel chaser, so I should shut up. But
it's all good.
It's really very interesting. The whole idea of everybody deserves what everybody else has, and everybody's opinion is of equal value, is all BS that has really led us into this total divide at every level. It's not just a political thing. It's at every level. We are divided, and we're divided because my opinion's as good as your doctorate. And we wind up with no conversation. There's no discussion, because now we have this whole thing going on. This is way off of epigenetics, but we have this whole science denial thing going on. People talk about the pandemic is the perfect example of science lied to us. No, science didn't lie to you. Science doesn't tell you the truth. Science tells you what it knows up until now. And when they tell you something different 6 months later, it's because science has learned, not because they lied to you 6 months ago.
It's a process. I know.
Anyway, I want to make absolute certain that people know what you're doing. I want to make sure that we put this your website up here again.
Thank you. I see it.
Tell me about your April 8th thing.
This is an epigenetic class. So if you are interested in learning how to do this for yourself, it's a day event, and I'm going to teach you the entire process so you can use this as a tool in your life. You don't need to hire me. You don't need to hire anyone. I'm going to give you the process this day. And I would love to have anybody in your tribe, anybody in your community join me.
Okay. And did you say this is free?
It's not. There is a cost to it. It's $297, I believe.
Okay.
For the day. Cool. And you get a workbook. There's lots of perks for, attending. I do have online audios that clear inherited patterns as well. In those, I do visualizations. I write visualizations. So there are visualizations in those that then turn into a releasing pattern. They're cool. But so they come with those types of bonuses. And then you're on live with me. This isn't an evergreen, like, go get online. You're on there with me, and I interact, and I do hot seats, and I do clearings. I connect and I heal while we're on there, each person, so that everybody's going to benefit from it. You'll leave transformed. and you'll have a method and a workbook for your future.
Outstanding. That's
Yeah.
April 8th.
April 8th. Starts at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. I'm in
Till-
LA.
And how long is it?
It goes 6 hours.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So
it's not, yeah, I can't teach in 20 minutes,
okay.
but you will have an
Sure.
experience. You will have an experience. Yep.
Doesn't sound like a 20-minute course to me.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
I just, I really want to dive deeper into this. I hope you will come back and join me again.
I would love to. We could talk about all sorts of things. We could talk about stories and how it showed up in people's lives. We could go in any of those squirrel directions you wanted.
Outstanding. Because I just feel like it's important work.
Thank you.
Because people just don't know. And we are living in this sympathetic nervous system world. We are living in a world where everybody is in fight or flight 24/7, 365. And it's just, it's killing us. It's literally killing us.
It is. It's going to block good sleep because the amygdala is always wired to be alert. It's always on. It's always looking for danger. It impacts all aspects of our life, being in fight and flight.
Yep. And it's almost entirely a function of the subconscious mind. And
I agree.
The subconscious mind, I don't remember the numbers, but it's like 1,000,000 times more powerful than the conscious mind. The conscious mind can entertain, I think these numbers are close to correct, about 4 million bits of information, while the subconscious mind has 40 billion, 40 million, I'm sorry, 4 million versus 40 million. So it's whatever it is, 10 million times more powerful than the subconscious mind. The flip side is the conscious mind can absolutely transform the subconscious mind.
But they can begin to work together. That's what I love, is you allow everything to come and work together, and then life's a lot easier. Boy, once you get to that, you're absolutely out. Then you're back into the parasympathetic nervous system. Then you're back into breed and feed, rest and digest. That's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Ken, thank you for having me on.
Oh, I'm thrilled that you came. I mean, you're my first guest in a long time, and we planned this, whatever it was, 6 weeks ago. I'm glad you kept it in your calendar. All of a sudden I looked at my calendar and went, oh my God, I have a guest this week. Lisa's coming on. Oh my God. If you'll just bear with me for a minute here, I want to do a couple of things that I do every week. I want everybody to remember that the New Thought Media Network is a nonprofit organization. We live and breathe and thrive by virtue of your generosity. So if you would go to ntmedia.org, that's newthoughtmedia.org, click on the donate button. And as I said, we'll be grateful for anything and everything you deign to bestow upon us. This show is sponsored by hempworks.com/Ken Ludwig. It'll take you right to my page. If you're interested in any of the CBD or hemp infused products, I'd be thrilled to have you have a look. Of course, those of you who watch know that HempWorks is a subsidiary of MyDailyChoice.com. Also, that'll take you to my page there. You can find me on Instagram at evolving_hippie. If you find me there, the only things you're going to find of mine on Instagram are probably 5 months old. But I'll get back there, folks. I promise I'll get back there. I'm not done. I ain't done yet. If you want to email me, it's teamrockitnow@gmail.com. And one more time, we'll go back to, this is one of the interesting parts about this particular StreamYard is I'm producing this whole show myself. This is New Thought Media to donate. And one final time, our guest, Lisa Thomas, energyhealing.com. Please, folks, if you have any interest in this whatsoever, Lisa's the first person I've ever spoken to who actually is not, she's not out doing the lecture circuit and lecturing to big crowds of people for, catch as catch can. She's actually working with individuals. She's working with people to find your purpose in how to move from where you are to where you can be, because that's what epigenetics is really all about. It's taking you from where you have been or even where you are to what you absolutely could be, to possibilities, is what epigenetics is really all about. Is that a true story? A true statement?
Spot on. I love how you said it.
Okay.
Yep.
I love that you were here.
Thank you.
My love to you, my friends. As always, I am immensely blessed by the great gift that is your time and your attention. I wish you all the love and blessings in the world. I hope you'll join me next Thursday and every Thursday for another adventure of vibrant living. Until then, my friends, namaste.